Welcome to the Lead Pedal Podcast with your host, Bruce Outridge. Bruce loves music and knows the words to many songs. He said the secret to getting so many miles in his career was singing to Dispatch. They kept sending him as far away as possible.
Hello, welcome to Lead Pedal Podcast. I'm your host, Bruce Outridge, and this is episode number 185. And we are going to talk to a couple members of the Young Leaders Group. So, as mentioned last week, if you're listening, today we have Joanna Mendoza and Matt Richardson with us. Now, Joanna is the business development manager for Stabler Insurance, and they are an insurance company within the trucking industry, and she is very good at her job. She handles the marketing, creating more business, that kind of thing. Stabler's been around for a long, long time. And we also have Matt Richardson. Matt was born into the trucking industry, and he's a sales and operations manager for KRTS Transportation Specialists in the Caledonia area. And so we're going to talk to the two of them. Actually, this one here was an interview that we did as well for our TV show. So it's done on location, and we'll be asking them some questions about how they got into the business, that kind of thing. And so that's the first part. Next week, we interview Matt directly by himself. We did a phone interview with him afterwards to talk more about the Young Leaders Group and what they have to offer. So this is a kind of a two-part. This is part one. So stay tuned, and we will be right back with Joanna and Matt. So hold on. Fleet Tax Services has expanded their operations to Mississauga, Ontario. The company is known as a one-stop shop for drug and alcohol testing, collection, permits, and authorities and compliance services such as logbook verification. Their current office, located in Beamsville, Ontario, on the corridor from Toronto to Buffalo, allows for a convenient location for drivers heading to the United States from the Toronto area. The Mississauga location, however, will be very important for those in the Brampton, Mississauga area delivering to customers by Highway 410, 401 around the airport and into the GTA. So you can learn more about Fleet Tax Services and their new location at fleettaxservices.com. Episode for you. We are going to talk all things transportation, and we have Matt Richardson and Joanna Mendoza. How are you doing? Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Bruce.
Thank you.
Good. So you guys are part of a group called the Young Leaders Group, right? But before we get into that, Joanna, tell us how you got into the industry. How did you get into trucking?
I got into trucking because we had a couple of experienced transportation brokers join our insurance brokerage, and I was in a commercial department, so I jumped in, started to help them on the transportation book because it's fast-paced and pretty demanding, and just started.
So tell us your job today. What do you do in your daily routine?
Well, today I'm in business development, so my daily routine is all about helping our business grow.
Right.
I spend a lot of time online, social media, Twitter, Facebook, a lot of networking, making connections. You never know who's going to be a good partner for you in the future.
Right. Did you think the world of transportation was going to be everything that it is?
You know what? No, not at all. I didn't really know what to think. I hadn't spent a whole ton of time contemplating it, but I think it was exciting and it was fast-paced, and that was a nice challenge for me, being young in the industry.
Okay, great. And Matt, you come from a long line of trucking, grandparents in the industry, and now you're working for Kim Richardson Transportation Specialist, which is a truck training school.
Yep.
So tell us, I know how you got in, probably folding envelopes, but give us an idea about how you got to where you are right now.
Washing trucks, actually, is how I got my start on Saturday or Sunday mornings when I was, as early as I can remember, 5-6 years old. I used to go to the shop with Dad, and that's what we would do on Saturdays and Sundays was wash trucks. As I got a little older, started looking after the maintenance of our yard, cutting grass, weed whacking, things like that. And then as things progressed, got into high school, started with some different office jobs. Went away to university, and then every year that I came back, I went through a different part of our training. So, one year I got my Z license, another year I got my heavy equipment certificate. And then once the schooling part of that was over, I'd work in a different part of the business, whether that be sales, management, dispatch, customer service, and kind of got to learn the whole scope of what we did.
You've done everything, right? So you've done all of these different parts of the industry. Do you see trucking as a viable industry for young people today?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the one thing that we don't get out there enough and we don't promote enough is how many different opportunities there are in the industry. It's not just about driving or dispatching. There's so many components that are involved in the transportation and the trucking industry that the opportunities are vast and endless, really. There's lots of stories about people coming in at the driver level, working up to dispatching, then management, and then running a company.
Yeah. So do you see people looking at the industry, like young people? Both of you guys are young yourselves. What made you get into the industry? We'll start with you.
Well, I think the challenge of it, it's something new. It is a fast-paced industry. There are so many opportunities. Really, it's kind of the lifeblood of any sort of society, city. It keeps everything running, but there's so many components. There's so many opportunities.
And you work with drivers or people coming in for the license. So we'll talk about that, but what are you seeing when they come into your place? Are they just looking for that license? Are they understanding the rest of it?
Yeah, I think if you're strictly speaking on the youth end of things, the people aged 25 and under that come through our doors, it's our job to educate them on the other opportunities, because when they come in, for the most part, they really are just looking at a driving opportunity. And it's often funny to see their reactions and see their faces when you tell stories about other students who you've had that have went and, again, like I said earlier, started as a driver and worked their way up through companies. And I think it's kind of eye-opening to them, and it gets them more excited for what they're about to get into.
So when they come in, because the biggest problem we have in the industry right now is the driving portion. That's where the real shortage is. So what are we doing to attract people to that? Do you see people coming in, do they think that driving is something they can do for long term?
I don't think we do a good enough job at attracting youth, especially. At the TTSAO conference last year, we had some guidance counselors in that spoke to the industry, and one of their concerns was that it's not an industry that's being promoted into the high schools. And why is that? Right. Instead of being a career of last choice, it needs to start being a career of first or second choice, depending on the path of an individual.
Right. So now you guys got into the Young Leaders Group. What was your purpose for getting into that? Why did you?
Well, I think for me, being young in my career and young in an industry, it was about sort of building a network and building connections and people that will be a support for you throughout the rest of your career, and a resource and coach.
Okay. And Matt, you're...
Yeah, similar thoughts to Joanna. One of the things about being with like-minded individuals, of the same age or in similar type positions, is there's a good chance that they're going through some of the same things that you are. So being able to bounce ideas off them, share ideas, best practices, even just to hear stories about some of the things that other young leaders have gone through that can potentially help with your growth.
Right. Now, is there a goal for the group? And I know that there's other partners, which we're going to talk to a little bit later in the show, but is there a goal as the young people of the group? I'm sure the other people will think they're the young people of the group, but let's just use you for now. Is there a goal of the message that you're trying to get through? Because, like you say, you're hoping that people will see that they're going through the same thing.
Yeah.
But when you started, what was the actual goal for the Young Leaders Group as far as?
I think that the main goals, are networking and education for the members of the group. But then outside of that, it's also about promoting the industry and making either other young leaders or that are in the industry or people outside of the industry aware of the vast opportunities that are available within the industry.
Okay.
I think those people that are in the transportation industry right now sort of have this advantage of knowing from the inside all of the opportunity that's there. So there's definitely the awareness piece for the YLG. We want to promote transportation and the trucking industry, but the networking, the discussion, the educational component is a huge value that we can bring to members as well.
So if someone is interested in the YLG group or in the industry in general, do they reach out to you? Is that kind of how the program's supposed to work? Or?
Yeah, well, with the YLG group, it's part of it's an initiative that's under the Private Motor Truck Council of Canada, so they can definitely check out the PMTC's website for more information on the YLG. And industry as a whole, there's lots of different resources out there. The internet and social media is a great tool.
Yeah. We got to be careful as to what you read on that. You have to know the difference between good information and bad, right?
Absolutely.
So if someone's interested in the driving portion, because there's different partners, and we'll talk about that more in the rest, but where should they go if they're looking for the driving portion? Because that's kind of where you're parts.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things about getting into the industry and the driving portion is you want to make sure you're going to a reputable school who's going to train you the right way. The Truck Training Schools Association of Ontario would be a great resource for anyone getting in to check out.
Right.
They're known as a TTSAO, but that is the Truck Training Schools Association of Ontario. And without any self-promotion, they can check out www.krway.com too. There's lots of good information on
Because you
there.
guys have all kinds of stuff from heavy equipment to driving and everything.
Absolutely.
And how about yourself, Joanna? Like you're in the insurance end, so how do people learn more about what you're doing?
Well, being a broker, I mean, there's the Registered Insurance Brokers of Ontario, so REBO's website, which is just rebo.com, but there's lots of different industry associations. If you're looking for sort of above and beyond just being a broker, I mean, being a field adjuster and that sort of thing, there's Insurance Institute of Canada and the Insurance Brokers Association of Ontario.
Well, that's great. And you work with Stabler Insurance specifically
I do, yes.
at this point?
Yes.
Did I say that wrong? No, so, okay. And so, do you guys, just tell us one tip you'd tell a young person looking at the industry right now.
That's a good one. Really, that the opportunities are endless. It doesn't have to be a career of second choice or last choice. It can be a career of first choice, and there's lots of people who have made a great living and provided for themselves and their families.
How about you, Joanna? One tip for the ladies of the industry?
You know what I would say to all young people is, I mean, don't just settle. Don't give up on the things that you love. I mean, in every industry, there's so many opportunities, just like the transportation industry. So really pursue what you love and get out there and get to know people when you get involved.
All right, so that was a good interview with Joanna and Matt. And so please join us next week when we talk. We have Matt back in again to talk about the Young Leaders Group and more about what they have to offer and some of the plans. He's been on that team since the beginning, so he's quite involved with that and doing a great job. Our tune of the week this week is because we want to get some of you superstars into the trucking industry and get you going. So this is Racing Superstar from the Danny Thompson Band off their album Small Town Blues, and you can check that out, and make sure you join us again next week when we come back with Matt and we talk more about what he's doing and how he's doing it. So stay tuned, have a good one, and we'll be catch you later. Are you looking for a job in the transportation industry? There are many jobs available in the transportation industry, yet many still have trouble finding the right company to call home. Often this comes from not knowing where to start your job search or the differences between employers in the industry. If you're starting your career in the transportation industry, then the Rearview Mirror is the place to start. They have driving jobs and other industry positions listed on their website. To learn more and view all the career positions available, visit therearviewmirror.ca.
My granddaddy built a stock racing car. He never took it to the track. He put on heavy-duty shocks and springs, loaded moonshine whiskey in the back. He taught us to fill all those mason jars from still sitting out back of the house. The law was waiting on us just down the road for a high-speed chasing game with cat and mouse. Granddaddy drove that old car just like he was a racing superstar. And all those mason jars are clanging, we're spilling inside the trunk of his car. Grandma lit up the lantern, sat up all night long, and me and my buddies jamming on some old-time country songs. Granddaddy came walking through the door and he grabbed a washboard and he strummed along. inside the trunk of his car. Grandma lit up the lanterns, sat up all night long, and me and my buddies jamming on some old-time country songs. Granddaddy came walking through the door, and he grabbed the washboard, and he strummed along. Yeah, one night when Granddaddy made a run, the law was closing in on his tail. That's when he decided to put the hammer down. He would rather risk his life than go to jail. Been 10 long years since Granddad passed away. We can still remember that feeling now. Grandma sits around here all alone, still sipping moonshine and getting tired. Granddaddy drove that old car just like he was a racing superstar. And all those mason jars are clanging, we're spilling inside the trunk of his car. Grandma lit up the lantern, sat up all night long, and me and my buddies jamming on some old-time country songs. Granddaddy come walking through the door, and he grabbed the washboard, he strummed along. Yeah, Granddaddy built his stock racing car, and never took it to the track.
This has been another episode of the Lead Pedal Podcast. To learn more about the show and its host, visit theleadpedalpodcast.com.